Good morning, everybody. How we doing today? It's good to be out here today. We're going to do another video. It's a real cold day, snowy. It's nasty outside. And we got to get one done. We got to get out and do some footwork, climb a hill or something, as Leo says. And I wanted to also thank everybody that subscribed for subscribing and your support to my channel. Thank y'all so very much for doing so. And if you haven't subscribed yet, please do, if you will, and click the like button. But I want to just kind of touch bases on what we are doing today, just a little. This is a sad story here. It happened here in the year 1939. It was a tragic school bus accident that happened over in an area called the War area, over English Way, not too far from where I'm from. There was 6 students perished, and the driver of the bus also. So we'll get into all that here just in a bit. We'll head over that way and look at the area that happened in. And I normally don't do these kind of, but I felt led to do this one. And I want to dedicate this one to all the ones that lost their lives that day, and all the ones that were injured. There was 72 on that bus that day, children, and 60-some injured, and 6 of the children perished. So let's go ahead and get into the video, and let's head over that way, see how the weather is out there here in Appalachia. Today we're going to do a story today that the type of stories I hardly ever do. It's a pretty sad story, actually. It's kind of connected to the mine disaster a little bit that happened here in McDowell County back in 1940. But this happened in 1939, October 11th. It was a tragic school bus accident that happened over toward the war. And today we're going to go over and go over a lot of the same area that this happened in, and show you about where this happened. And it says here, slightly over 80 years ago, which was 85 years now in this article, World War II had underway in Europe. Headlines of battle in the North Seas, and a lot going on with the war. But Bluefield Telegraph had a article which was very sad for the community. It said war bus crash mounts 6 total deaths today. Well, we're going to go over that story today and talk about some of that and what happened that day. But we're on our way right now. I got Tubby with me today. He's the driver. I can't hardly do this and drive at the same time, so we're going to kind of go over there today. But it's kind of a bad day to be doing this. I'm going to turn around and kind of show you what it looks like out here today. Yeah, this is a snowy day out here today. Kind of a bad day to be doing this, but I need to get out here today if I can and do this story. And we'll kind of go over today about what happened that tragic day. And we'll get back with you just in a bit. Yeah, I wanted to show y'all what it looked like out here. The road's just trying to get a little slick out here today. But I was going to read to you a little bit about what happened on that day. October 11th, 1939, is around 8:30 or so in the morning. A McDowell County school bus carrying 72 students to Pig Creek High School plunged over 85 foot over an embankment near the city of War and landed on the Northwestern Railroad tracks. It says by October the 12th, 5 students and the bus driver had passed away. But actually, by a day or so, it was a total of 6 students and the driver. It says here the 6th student later had died. Many of the survivors had real serious injuries, and what was the cause of the accident was a broken spindle on the front axle was blamed for the tragedy. Well, what is a spindle? Tell us a little bit what a spindle is, Tubby. I'm sure you know what. You're mechanically inclined. Tell us a little bit what a spindle is on a bus or a truck.
Well, back in they had a straight axle front end, and you had what you call a kingpin that put the spindle part that your wheel bearings, your hub assembly, and all that rolled on, so the wheel could roll. And when a spindle breaks, it gets pretty bad real quick.
Okay, so that causes actually either the tire to fold under or even come off.
Yeah.
Right. So this place that we're going to today, we're going to show you what a place this is, and it's a terrible place to have an accident for sure. It says here, today many people remember the local tragedy overshadowed by the start of World War II. This was in '39, so this was right when the World War II had just begun. It says here that the students' graves can be found in cemeteries across the region. There's a guy called Rotenberry that had done some studying on it. He had researched the local history and has studied this tragedy. He sat down in his personal library and got this stuff together. It says the crash site was on the road coming into war from English area. It's a mountainous area, steep embankments, and it has plunged over 75 to 88 feet over. As you'll see here today, how steep it is here. And also, we have guardrails now, and back then there was no such thing as a guardrail. So these roads didn't have guardrails at that time, and so there was nothing to stop the bus after it went off the road. Said here that the doctors showed up and the ambulances showed up, and all the students were taken to the hospital except for one that wasn't injured. Wow. There was one student out of all of them that wasn't injured in this crash. Said that there was one that stayed in the hospital for way over a month. He really don't know how long he was there. There is a list of the children that were in the crash here. Most of them was teenagers. You had a Beavers, you had a Mullins, and a Woody, and a Earls, and a Culver, and a White. Wow. And all of these was young children in their teens. Okay, this tragedy had struck many homes in the area. It wasn't, it was 1939 when this happened. Well, 3 months later, in the January of 1940, we had the Bartley mine accident that killed 91 men. Well, part of this families that was in this crash was some of their families that was killed in this mining accident. Was in this crash. Some of the family was. Other families was touched by the crash to continue the experience. The father, brother, and another student who died, the Mullins, were killed in the Bartley mine explosion too. Miss Mullen lost her daughter, then lost her son and her husband. She was evicted from her house by the mine authorities after Bartley mine explosion. She didn't have any relatives working for the company. Wow. So if you didn't have any relatives working for the mine company, then, like if your husband died and you didn't have no relatives working for the company, you was evicted. Is that correct? I guess so. Wow. So the exact location of the grave of the bus driver has not been known at this time. I'm trying to find that. I was wanting to try to visit his grave if I could. His name was Hubert Belcher of Berwyn, or Herbert Belcher. It's quite not clear where he's buried, but we're going to try to find out where he's at if we can. But it says here that Belcher legs were caught under the engine. He was trapped in the bus. The engine was on his legs, and he would not have no medical attention until all the children had been taken off the bus. Wow. I was a bus driver also. For 12 years, I drove a school bus for McDowell County Board of Education. And that was always my fear of having some sort of accident like that. And that's a terrible thing. But that was something for him to do that. He thought of the children first before himself. Wow. says here, Belcher was last removed from the wreckage, he having insisted that the children be given first consideration, according to the Cut Line newspaper. It says the twisted remains of the bus. Well, here you'll see it. And they had to amputate one of his legs to remove him from the wreckage.
We gotta go through this curve, come out, and we'll have some little curves, and then we'll go out through
To the big curves. I was just going to show y'all about what the road looked like out through here. As you see, we have guardrails now, and look how narrow this road is going into a war. But we've not gotten to the exact area I think it was yet. Can you imagine driving a school bus on a road like this that has no guardrails on it? It's supposed to be a 72 passenger bus made by the Murphy Bus Company. My bus was a Bluebird bus. It was 72 passenger also. I have a picture of it you can see, of mine. But the curves is very, very steep, and the road's pretty narrow. But the railroad track is down under us right here. Okay, and it's right through here. We think is pretty much where it happened. So I'm gonna get out and kind of show you this here in just a minute. Folks, this is it here pretty much. Down here is the railroad tracks. Wow. Can you imagine driving a school bus full of kids and no guardrail coming up through here going towards Big Creek High School, which is a few miles up the road from here. Wow. I couldn't imagine driving it back in that time. The roads, I guarantee you the roads was a lot worse shape than they are now. And these kids going over this mountain, they said they were, people come from everywhere to help get them, to take them to the hospital. Wow, this is unreal. I've been through here many times, but I never thought, never crossed my mind how terrible that day was. I'm really doing this video too to remember those folks, these people, on that tragic day in October of 1939. Wow. It was a tragic day that day. You know, you had that tragic bus wreck in 39, and just 3 months later, in 40, you had the terrible Bartley mine disaster. What a horrific time for McDowell County during that years. Wow. This is one of the curviest roads that I've ever seen in my life. But you know, I used to drive a school bus on roads like this, curvy. I drove toward Bradshaw, Panther, all down that way. And the roads just like this right here. Some of them even didn't have guardrails on them. They just, in the last decade, started putting guardrails in some of these secluded places, you know. But it's all about making things safer for people, though. You know, that's what we all strive for. Folks, I wanted to thank you for coming out here. I'm gonna try to go find Mr. Belcher, his grave if I can. So we'll catch you next time on Appalachian Roots with Dan. If I can find his grave, I'll get right back with you. Thank you so much for watching this video. Y'all have a blessed day.